So we first discussed premises and punchlines, and now we're coming to the second topic, which is perspective and self. Now, when you have an identity that you relate to, you have a perspective from that identity towards the comedy you do. The comedians we'll be displaying, we are going to dissect the unique perspective that they have because of who they are and what can we learn from them. While the bits are playing, it's great if you guys enjoy the bits because they are really my favorite bits. And I've learned a lot from them. Playing, I think, the Melbourne Comedy Festival, Ronnie Chieng.
If you don't know who I am, there's something you should know about me. I'm a really down-to-earth guy, but I'm getting pretty famous, all right? It's getting ridiculous. Starting to get recognized on the street now due to starring in multiple Australian television comedy shows, opening for Dave Chappelle. I went to Woolworths the other day to buy some salmon, and as I was purchasing my salmon, the guy behind the counter said, "Hey, wait a minute. Are you that part-time actor from It's a Date?" And I was like, why did you open with part-time? Were you trying to imply that my performance on It's a Date was somehow amateur? Or that a full-time actor would not be purchasing his own salmon at Woolworths? You don't know. I could be a full-time actor. You don't know me. I could be acting right now. I could be going method. I'm actually preparing for a role where I play a humble comedian who's not about to throw the salmon in your face. Oddly enough, this is the most challenging role of my career. Speaking of Woolworths, we're all being lied to. Every single one of us in this room is being lied to by Woolworths. You know that dollar coin you put in shopping trolleys? That dollar coin shouldn't be stopping anybody. The slag metal value alone of that shopping trolley exceeds $1. You can put $1 in that thing, you can take that bad boy home. You'll still come up on top. Every time I bring this up, my friends say the same thing. They say, "Ronnie, you're overthinking this. As usual, you're being too clever. That dollar coin isn't there to stop you from taking the trolley home. That dollar coin is there to reward you for putting the trolley back. It's your reward for keeping the place tidy." Okay, well then guess what, Woolworths? Don't pay me my own dollar to keep your place tidy. Pay me an additional $1 in salary. That was my money to begin with. That'd be like me paying for this salmon with an apple from your fruit section. That's right. It was yours to begin with. Speaking of apples, apples are red with thin, edible skin and white flesh, okay? Whereas oranges are rounder with orange-colored skin and orange-colored flesh. And the skin of an orange, hey, generally discarded before consuming. All right, you know what just happened there? You know what I just did? I just compared apples to oranges. It can be done. I don't know what all the fuss is about. I just did it. Helps if you speak English. Hey fellas, hey guys in the room, have you ever gotten in trouble with your girl over some shit Kanye West said in a song once? Has that ever happened to you? Well, it happened to me. I was sitting on my sofa with the girl I was dating at the time, or watching MTV, right? Kanye West comes on with his music video for his new song, Bound 2. Okay, if you don't know Bound 2, it's the music video he does with Kim Kardashian on a motorcycle, right? It's really tacky on purpose because he's a genius. So we're watching this goddamn video, Kanye West comes on, and one of the lyrics in his song happens to be, "Have you ever asked your bitch for other bitches?" Okay, so he's singing his song, "Have you ever asked your bitch for other bitches?" Immediately, the girl I'm dating just turns to me, right? Just angry and disgusted. "Oh my God, can you believe what he just said? That's disgusting. Is that what you want? Do you want to ask your bitch for other bitches? Is that what you want to do?" I'm like, whoa, I didn't say that. I didn't even pick the channel. You picked the channel. This video randomly came on. How is this on me? Right? But she won't stop. She keeps going. She won't quit. She goes, "Oh my God, that's all men want. Men just want to ask the bitch for other bitches. Men are pigs. Men are disgusting. Men are pigs. Men are pigs." And she won't quit. And I just go, "Okay, fuck it. You want to have this conversation? You want to have this conversation? Let's have this conversation." All right? Because I went to an elite law school. I don't lose verbal arguments. Right? I'll debate you until I win or one of us dies. All right, you want to do this? Let's do it. Let's break it down. Let's break down what Kanye West is saying. First of all, Kanye West isn't even asking his bitch for other bitches. He's asking the question, have you ever asked your bitch for other bitches? It's a hypothetical. It didn't even happen, right? What are you, punishing him for his thoughts now? Are you Big Brother from 1984? Second of all, let's put aside the fact that bitch in Ebonics and hip-hop can also have positive connotations in the right context. And let's take what he's saying at face value. Let's just take what he's saying at face value. He's asking his bitch for other bitches. He's not sleeping with other bitches. He's not cheating with other bitches. He's asking his bitch for other bitches. You don't know what kind of relationship they have. Maybe they have an open relationship. Maybe they like threesomes. You don't know. You're just applying your own moral values onto this couple. Who's the bitch now? Yeah, that's it. That's it. And that, my friends, is how you win the battle but lose the war. Because I successfully argued my way out of that relationship. All right, hey, listen.
That's Ronnie Chieng, one of my favorite comedians. He's also visited India, I think 5-6 years ago. I had the honor to meet him, understand a bit of comedy, what he thinks, etc. The apples and oranges bit is my favorite, and this is how you can be yourself, have a perspective on things, without really declaring too much, without really relating it to your identity. But he still has a strong self and a stronger perspective towards things. And he told you so much about himself: part-time actor, elite law student, currently single, knows English, can compare apples and oranges, all in just 5 minutes. It was quite cool. Tell me, which is the weakest joke of this bit?
I found the one where he says that this is how you win the battle but lose the war. The part after that and that's how I successfully argued my way out of the relationship, because I saw that coming.
So you saw that coming, that's why you think it's a weak joke?
Yeah, because then the
Mike.
the surprise element is lost. If you can see a punchline coming,
If you can see a punchline coming, very interesting. An element of surprise is lost. But there is something called an anticipatory laugh.
relatively weaker.
Relatively weaker because you saw it coming. But
Yeah.
seeing a joke coming is not a problem. Because one, you are in a comedy show and you are seeing, and jokes are going to come. So you may be able to predict. The job of the comedian is to bypass your prediction with a better line. He didn't do that in this case for you, which is fair. But anticipatory laugh is a thing.
So one thing that when you are using examples, he used the example of Big Brother from 1984. I got it because I've read 1984.
Yeah.
But the question comes that instead of using that, can comedians, to make their sets more universal, just make examples that are universally relatable? Like I don't know, some example ki, is it one of those things where you just make a face and your mom is like, hey, tune aisa kara, something like that? Ki one of those things where you're not using a reference to something. So can
Correct.
that be?
So I think the universal stand-up comedy or a universal stand-up show is very defined to what your universe is, and that's yourself and your perspective. So in his universe, a 1984 joke will always land. Our universe, maybe not. But I think we have to be true to the universe we are living in and not try to be universal in that way. And if it doesn't relate to the audience, explaining it is funnier. Okay, we'll move to the next bit.
I'm serious. This one time racism saved my life, man. I was on a plane. I was coming from overseas, and I don't know how this guy got a machine gun on the plane, but he stood up, man. He said, "Everybody, get on the fucking ground. Nobody look at my face." I started freaking out. Because he was Chinese, I was like, why is he talking like that? It was screaming and crying. I was the only brother on the plane. Well, I thought I was the only brother. I looked over, there was one other black dude. He was from Nigeria. I looked over at him, he was looking right in my face, man. He didn't say two words to me, he just looked at me, he was like... He didn't need to talk, I knew just what he was talking about. I looked right back at him, I was like... Some white dudes on the front of the plane seen us, they were like, oh my God. I think those black guys are gonna try to save us. We were just communicating that we understood the situation. We were both seeing the same thing. What we understood was simple. Terrorists don't take black hostages. That's the truth. I have yet to see one of us on the news reading a hostage letter and shit. They is treating us good. We all chilling and shit. I'd like to give a shout out to Ray Ray and Big Steve and send some Newport. You're not gonna see it. Terrorists are smart. They know what they're doing there, you know. They terrorists. They know it's black people's bad bargaining chips. They called the White House and said, hello? We have got 5 black... Hello? You'd be back in D.C. You know, I was thinking, man, this is an election year. I'm gonna ask you, you're a white guy, do you know who you're voting for yet? Don't know, do you? Now you see that? You see what just happened here? Let me tell you something, that is a cultural thing. He knows who he's gonna vote for, he's just not gonna tell me. See? I've noticed that. That is a cultural thing. White people do not like to talk about their political affiliations. It's a secret. You ever ask a white guy who's voting for you? Hey, Bob, who are you gonna vote for? Dave, whoa. Well, take it easy now. Take it easy. So anyway, I was fucking my wife in her ass, right? And I mean, it was something else. Yeah, but who are you voting for? Dave, come on with the voting. I'm trying to tell you about fucking my wife, you're asking me all these personal questions. They don't like to divulge that information because it matters to them. Black people talk about that shit. Black people will openly talk about politics. Black people will openly talk about beating up politicians and shit. If I see George Bush, I'll kick his motherfucking ass for cutting my Medicaid. They really say it. Black people just say it. But there's a reason for that. It matters more for them. It matters more. Black people see even when I vote, right? Which I don't. But even when I like think about like who I would vote for, right? I don't even look at their political policies. I just look at their character. You know what I'm saying now? You gotta read, no, I'm serious. You gotta read between the lines. Like, you know, you look at Clinton, and black people like Clinton, because we've seen him on the campaign. I saw one thing on the campaign trail. He actually just picked a black baby up and kissed him. Come here, little nigger baby. Mwah, just kiss him. I said, I like that. He did not hesitate or nothing. You see George Bush Jr., he be there, ugh. Like, see, I'd never vote for George Bush Jr., but I don't know George Bush Jr.'s politics. The only thing I know about George Bush Jr. is that guy sniffed cocaine. That's right. Now listen, we cannot have that shit in the White House. That might be fine for a mayor, but goddamn it, not in the White House. Not in the White House. You know what I'm saying? The stakes are too high in the White House. Can't have no cokehead president. He be selling nuclear secrets for $20, $30 and shit. He'll be in meetings embarrassing America. Come on, sign the treaty, baby. I suck your dick. Like, what the? Mr. President. Like, Mr. President, that is not how we do business here, sir. Stop sucking the ambassador's dick. No, let him finish. I will sign the treaty. There will be peace in Israel finally. I'd vote for Clinton again if I could. At least it's always better. Now again, I'm not looking at his politics. Don't know what his politics are. I'm just looking at his behavior. I understand that kind of behavior. I know a lot of dudes with them shortcomings. Weed smoking fornicators, there's a lot of them. I mean, come on now, let's be honest. Let's be honest. Bill Clinton was not the first president to do what he did. Now let's think back for a minute. Remember a guy named Kennedy, John F. Kennedy? Remember him? He fucked Marilyn Monroe. Matter of fact, him and his brother Bobby fucked Marilyn Monroe. And history doesn't talk about that much. You know why history doesn't talk about that much? Because those 2 pages in history are stuck together. They was getting it on. They were getting it on. I seen the tapes. Remember the tapes? She'd be singing on there. She'd just party, stressing them out. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Bitch, my family's here. Clinton did the same thing, but he didn't do it like that. Because it's the year 2000, he's busier than Kennedy was. He was a busy man. Clinton did that kind of thing the way busy men do it. You know what busy men do? They fuck who's close to them. I can tell that's what Clinton was up to. Look like he just stuck his head out the office door and shit. Oh boy. You, come here. I made my penis up for my 3:30, come on. Oh boy. He's probably looking at Kennedy's picture and shit. Oh.
That's Dave Chappelle. Perspective and comedy, a bit that he has done 20 years ago, has so much perspective and so much comedy. First time, never questioned the premise. He was not on a plane that was attacked. But what he came to was black people are not good bargaining chips. That's the premise. He started with taking you on a journey where he was hijacked, and 2 black people look at each other and they do thumbs up because he knows the next joke. And the white person is like, they're going to take, and then they're like, no, we don't have anything to do. We are not any bargaining chip. We are fine. That's what the nod was for. So 20 years ago, Dave Chappelle does a bit, tells you that black people would never be in a hijacking. They would not be good bargaining power. How he votes. He doesn't vote for George W. Bush for these reasons. And he votes for Bill Clinton for these reasons. Because as a black person, you have to choose between these two. And look at what I'm choosing. That is so much perspective that he's getting to the table while acting out everything. And if you see, this is Dave Chappelle, the sketch writer. So the hijack scene is a sketch. The black people coming together saying, no, we are fine. They just get off, they go. Somebody calls the White House, they hang up. It's all written in a very cinematic sketch format. The president also is written in a very cinematic sketch format. I can literally see some president look-alike sucking the dick and be like, we don't do business here like this. And then the camera goes up and he's like, I'm okay with it, I'll sign the treaty. So he has written everything in that sketch format, but he has painted that picture, used his unique identity and perspective to it, and got to you an amazing comedy bit with so much insight. So yeah, let's discuss this.
This is by far one of my favorite bits that have been shown, and it's one of my favorite specials as well. So, what do you think would happen? Like, he's joking about presidents,
Right.
and it really goes to show how American culture is really about freedom of speech and all of that.
Right.
What do you think would happen if like this was in India? And
See, the thought we must, and I have reserved time to speak about that at probably the end of the workshop on how to operate with these tools in a sort of community that is still not very accepting to have a sense of humor about something that they do. So we will come to it later. But I think the bit itself, forget the freedom of speech that there is in America, etc. And if there was no freedom of speech also, and it was suffering with having lack of freedom, still this joke would make a Republican and Democrat both laugh. Maybe in private, but at least they both would laugh.
no, but that's what I'm saying is that people like. It's not like if you make a joke, the politician in India would take it personally. They probably wouldn't even know that it
Yeah.
exists. But other people take it so personally that it's like.
But that is not the discussion that we need to have when we are talking about perspective and self. That's an India-centric problem. And that's an India-centric discussion.
On that, actually, I mean, sometimes one can't help but feel that it's not difficult, but it's sometimes plain impossible. Because if there is, the majority is problematic. Let's face it. I mean, there is. I don't know how else
I'm
to put
facing it, I know.
So
Majority is problematic.
problematic, and they are in no mood to change.
Correct.
They don't care for what you think is right or
They don't, I know that also.
So now when you, however funny you may be, they already don't like you as a person.
That also I know.
So those jokes won't work, right? Here it is working because probably the audience is sensitive. They understand, or at least they are amenable to the idea that we could be wrong, let us, and if it is funny, let's at least laugh.
It's worth an attempt. And it's also sometimes not worth an attempt. Why do you have to change anything? I think if you just do good comedy, that's enough change. There's something that Varun Grover told me once that changed my mind. He said that being political and trying to change people's mind, we've given that a lot of time. Clearly not working in the direction we thought. Why don't we just make aesthetically good things so that they can watch that instead of the news at 9 p.m. And I think that's totally sane and wise. We just have to make them watch something else. That's about it. Sometimes that is in itself revolutionary. A film with good aesthetics, a comedy bit with good aesthetics, that's probably good enough.
What do you mean by that? A comedy with good aesthetics?
Any comedy bit with good aesthetics, like watching any comedy routine over watching the news, is a win. You just have to create content that's good enough for them to switch out of the bizarreness of reality, the stupidity of drama. So that is good enough. That's a great start to have.
Of course, I feel that all comedy is political because it is in a time and space. In the Indian context, how much does it matter that who is making these jokes and who it is coming from? Because I remember in Clubhouse there were many of these jokes on within the LGBT community, Dalit oppression, and when a person from a millennial, he was talking about it, and it didn't ring true, but it was all there. There were punchlines. It was well structured. So how does one grapple with one's own privilege while making jokes and commenting on issues? Where does the self come in that?
So I think your identity is very important to what you are saying, and there is privilege, and you need to acknowledge that privilege in a very funny way, I feel. Sometimes there is so much guilt that people get to stage by their privilege, hey, I'm this, I'm this, I'm that, I'm so privileged, and hence I should not have a point of view on anything. I think you should have a point of view on privileged people. Start there. If you know how privilege works and if you've dissected it, you must talk about it. There's no problem.
So, Kunal, what's your humble advice to a rookie? Should they give their commentary on political affairs, particularly for people leaning towards the left in the current situation?
I don't have an advice to that. I think I would just stick to telling you again and again that you have to find your voice and you have to stick to yourself. Sometimes I see people who have so much perspective in their own lives where they can do so much more, but they are stuck to just their political beliefs. And sometimes I feel there is so much political belief in this person, but he's just stuck to mundane comedy. It's just about being true to who you are.
So in this, I've seen him become the character while, like, when he's doing the bit, like when he's speaking like the character.
Yeah, acting out.
Yeah, acting out, sort of. I've also seen you do that in that airport bit where you say, "Uncle ka awaaz aap nikalte ho."
Yeah.
So my question regarding that is, what happens with me sometimes personally when I'm performing is, kabhi I try to do like that character, I bring that voice and all, and kabhi it works, but in some situations what happens is I feel that I'm overselling it. मतलब उतना चल नहीं रहा है और मैं मतलब ज़्यादा एनर्जी डालो जितना ज़रूरत है उससे ज़्यादा. So how do you operate then? Do you see the setting and then decide whether or not to modulate the voice based on the room, or you always do voices?
See,
like always do the character?
No, I think there is nothing which is always.
Okay.
We have to get rid of the idea that we have to always do things in a certain way. It doesn't work like that. Every crowd is different and every crowd has different energies that they are projecting towards you. And that is how they will model you to put your energy into it also. It's not you always working with them. Sometimes it's them working with you, like a corporate show or in a town that they are watching stand-up for the first time. Depending on who the front row is. Depending on, is there a crying baby in the audience? Any situation can happen. But your energy and your commitment is towards your bit. And one thing that I've realized, that if you are bombing, bomb gracefully. Don't put more energy at that time. Because that is not going to save you. It's only going to make the night worse. When you are bombing, it's not working, they are not in it, you are also thinking there's no chance I can save it. Just go down gracefully. So that you remember that these are the tricks I tried and it didn't work. I think if somebody is not reacting to you, being more energetic may not work.
So I've had this problem for a long time right now that while I'm trying to paint a picture, while I'm trying to set a scene in my set, I can't find the balance. I can't strike the balance between going way in depth and setting up the details or just giving the picture, painting the picture, and I lose my punchline in that point. How do I manage to find that? Like for Dave Chappelle, he just said that he was in the plane and then he had a few punchlines. Then he said that he just had another black guy with him. Where do I find that balance? I don't need to go way in depth to set up the.
If you have if you have a joke that needs in-depth setting up, then you may need to go more in deep with your premise. But there is always a balance, and that's what we spoke about. That the number of words that have come towards the laughter, they have to have a marriage. The number of words you've used towards a premise and the end of that premise, what is coming out of it, there has to be a balance between the both. And then with time, you will figure out a good balance. And that can come only with more time.
Let's say you want to write regarding a premise. You have in mind, like, okay, I think I could write some good stuff on that. So how do you get to writing on that? Like, for example, managers or corporate environment. So do you just like start with writing your observation? What is the best way to do?
See,
that?
I don't think there is any best format. There are different genres of writing an observation and delivering a punchline, and we are exploring those different genres of joke writing, joke telling, joke delivering. But to put it in a sort of philosophy that, okay, if you have to write a joke, these are the 10 things to have in mind, I don't think it will work, because if it was if laughter was so mechanical, then it would not cut through so many biases, so many prejudice, so many people. Like, it's written on your pads, when someone's laughing, they are not in the past or the future, they are just present in the moment. And that is with so many other emotions are not like that. When someone's angry, they are in the past. They could be in the future. When someone's sad, they could be in the past or the future. But laughter is the only thing where they are present there. We can explore different genres, how different people have come to it. But we cannot decide that, oh, these are the 10 tools to navigate through comedy. Yeah, premise and punchline is where comedy starts. It should lead to perspective and self. And what it should lead to after, we will discuss that also. But if you are thinking that after this workshop you will have a premise in your mind and you will have the best joke towards it, I don't think it will be possible. It's always a trial and error. And it is very much based on the audience's reaction. So you will have to alter, rework, retry, just live with the premise a little more. Yeah? Anyone? Should we move to the next clip? Yeah. Okay.
So I have kids. Of course you love your kids and it's difficult to raise them. Small kids are very easy, I find. The biggest downside of having a very small child is they are very boring. Yeah, they want to show you they love you by talking to you all the time, but everything they know you already know. I mean, literally zero value add in any of those conversations. But you do it anyway because they're your kids, you know? And you know what people say, small kids, small problems, big kids, bigger problems. And the reason is that as your kids get older, you have to discipline them properly. And I find this very stressful because I'm born and raised in India. So what I consider robust, healthy, high quality parental discipline is frowned upon in this part of the world. That's not true, it's illegal. I know because I have checked. And I want to have really well-behaved kids, but that is no use to me if I am in jail. So, I just learned what you guys do here, and the big thing here is teach your kids about action and consequence using a multitude of techniques. So you have something called star chart. You know what star chart is? Yeah, no, let me tell you, sir. Star chart is you find something vaguely not negative that your child possibly might be able to do and then work it into the conversation and give them a star. Thank you for not kicking me in the face today. Here's a star. And then the other one, action and consequence, naughty step. You've been terribly behaved. Kindly go relax on the staircase. And I was like, I cannot get on board with this. So what do we have from my culture that I can somehow glom onto this so it makes sense to me? And then I thought, of course, our parents talk to us about action and consequence, but the way they do it is they implicate us from the time we're very young in their death. And they use this as a way to guide our behavior. Let me give you an example. Let me find someone who... Sir, what is your name?
John.
John, can I use your name for this? Okay, so John, imagine you're 4 years old and your mother will say to you, John, I told you to put 1 spoon of chocolate in the milk. Why have you put 2? Because you want me to die. Very effective with small children, you know. Focuses them. And John, your mother could be from anywhere in India. So if she was from Gujarat, she might say something like, John, beh chammach mukyo, mora loi piyo. John, you put 2 spoons of chocolate in your milk? Why are you drinking milk? Drink my blood. If she's from Punjab, she would say, John, 2 chammach paiye. Arey John, main pitta jawa. Main pitta jawa. John, you put 2 spoons of chocolate in the milk? Fine. I am going to beat myself to death. You please stay here and enjoy your milk. Yeah. My mom speaks Hindi, so what she would probably say is, Arey John, chammach kya tantana rahe ho? Chura uthao. John, why are you tinkling that teaspoon? Pick up the knife, you know it's what you want. Really good stuff. And it was working so well for me with my firstborn, until when he was about 7, I got a phone call from his school. And the teacher said, could you and your husband please come in? Your son has some very specific anxieties. So I went. I didn't take my husband. My husband is Danish, which is to say there is 0 overlap in our parenting techniques. Yeah, Danes. My husband's entire parenting repertoire is, darling, please be very, very, very happy. Here is some Lego. So I went. And the teacher said, we don't understand. He's a great boy, great kid. But every time we give him back homework and he hasn't got full marks, he says, I don't want to go home. I think my mother might be dead. And on the inside, I was like, yes. What a good boy, he's been listening. My son. But on the outside, I was like, what? No. Oh. I'm so sorry. I can't imagine. Well, what can I say? Danes are very bleak. You've been so nice, Apollo. Thank you so much.
That's Sindhu Vee, one of my favorite comedians. She has been killing it on the UK circuit. This is live at the Apollo, one of the few Indians to have played this. Very amazing bit, talking about self and perspective, parenting as an Indian. The overlapping in culture thing, that we have nothing that overlaps, is really a unique perspective towards comedy. That there are 2 cultures meeting. There is no meeting ground of those cultures, and a kid growing up in that environment. So she gets something really good to the table, and that is what I really admire about Sindhu Vee. When an Indian comedian goes abroad, I don't know why they leave the Indianness behind. She's taken the Indianness in such a graceful way. And even when she's doing those lines that the Apollo Theatre has no idea what she is doing, but she knows exactly that it's going to make them laugh. And it's almost a proud moment to see one of us performing at one of the biggest stages at the Apollo Theatre. I really like this bit for many reasons. One of them is just the sharp critique it has towards Indian parenting in general, and just how easily she does it without pretending to be better than people and virtue signaling what they should do as parents. So that's Sindhu Vee. We can discuss this bit.
The point you mentioned about, gracefully critiquing the Indian parenting system. In fact, I felt that she's done it so beautifully that the folks who actually endorse that kind of parenting, the Indian parenting, which is bordering on abuse and sometimes abuse, will actually think that she's endorsing it. Do you think that is intentional?
No, I think she is a comedian who chooses to play to the top of the intelligence and does not care of how an unintelligent person would perceive it.
Okay.
So she's not here to put disclaimers for stupid people. She's doing her comedy for really like-minded, intelligent, rational people who don't think emotional abuse is the way out if you cannot actually hit a kid. And if that is the message they take out from this comedy, then they are not a comedy audience. Why waste time with them? Like one of my stand-up bits, somebody told me, it's a great idea. I think I like the idea. You are right. We should make Ambani our PM. I said, if that is what you've derived, then you are not a comedy audience. Why should I waste time? I said, yes, it's very good. And I left. So, your craft, because of how stand-up comedy is and what people perceive out of it, may not communicate to the least intelligent person, but we are not writing for them. We are writing for the most intelligent person and making them laugh. And I'm not using intelligence and mistaking it with education, arrogance, stupidity. Not all of that. Intelligence is just making it to the comedy show on time. An intelligent person does that. That's enough intelligence a person needs to enjoy comedy.
So she was translating her punchlines, I guess.
Yes.
So the audience was non-speaking Indian languages.
Yeah.
So she was translating Hindi to English and Punjabi to English. So
Correct.
was there a need to do that, or just English is fine?
Just to tell you that we are different cultures, and every culture has figured the same technique with their own twist.
So she's a part of being a part of the team and opposing what her team does, the Indian Parenthood and everything. Do you think it's more effective than directly calling it out that I don't support this?
Your job is not to be effective.
Right.
Your job is to be hilarious.
I understand, but like she's a part of the system and endorsing it, but implying that she's opposing what happens.
But I think beyond the laughter and the emotion that a person goes through at that time, which breaks that barrier of what your prejudices is, what your bias is, and what your own practice is not to be discussed. But I think she was hilarious. She did a great job of making us laugh. And that is what is more important. What people take away from things, who are we to decide? And we should not predict or endorse or make sure that they take away what we want them to take away. It's their job to interpret. And they may interpret it wrongly. What is our problem? We just have to be funny.
Before you present your set to a wider audience, or maybe let's say to a paid audience, you try it out in open mic.
Yeah.
Just to check whether it is working or not.
Yeah.
But let's say in this kind of scenario wherein you are going to an international stage and you are presenting something which is too Indian or which is too local, how risky that could be, because you have never tried it with international audience.
So there is a ladder that she has climbed to, and that's why she's got here. So she must have done a same set at least 50 to 80 times with the same demographic of people, but in lesser number. 60, 80, 100, or maybe even more. I don't know the economics of what Sindhu Vee is at, but I really wish she's at great economics because she's very good. So we are being naive if we think that she's at risk here. She's not at risk. This must be the most tight, tested, working, the best timed, the best response, the best way to introduce herself to such a big stage. So it's not the first time, it's not risky, and it is not too local. It's herself who is Indian. It's her husband who is Danish. It's her kid and what her experience with parenting is. It's actually as universal as it can get, but while retaining the Indianness that she has. I don't know if you all have seen that Anuva Pal bit where he goes to meet a bunch of foreigners and they ask him, do you guys have birthdays in India? Do you guys do this? And Anuva was like, no, what's birthdays? I actually don't know. It's like, the day you were born. I think nobody knows who was born in India. So don't you all have a song for it? Like every country has their version of happy birthday. He's like, yeah, what's the song? And then she's like, happy birthday. And he's like, 1 second, I'll write it down. So again, he's in his universe making fun of something that is universal by telling you that he has no idea. And I don't know if this bit is online, but this is one of my funniest, as you may call it, universal bits. While he is still sticking to his character. And elaborating on the joke, which is really funny. What offends people and how to make them laugh more and offend them less. So we'll discuss these two topics tomorrow: storytelling and walking the line. Okay, thank you so much for coming out. Really appreciate it. Thank you for picking me up over festival time. I won't say which festival, otherwise it will get political. But I really thank you guys. Take care. See you tomorrow.
मैं चाहता हूं कि आप सिर्फ एक ही प्रार्थना में ध्यान लगाएं, और वो है हंसी। क्योंकि जब आप हंस रहे होते हैं तब आप प्रेजेंट मोमेंट में होते हैं। आप फ्यूचर में जाकर नहीं हंस सकते और आप पास्ट में जाकर नहीं हंस सकते।